Tekken has been around for almost 3 decades. Its legacy has spanned over multiple console generations and it has survived multiple trips and deaths to the volcano pits. Its combo-heavy gameplay has mostly been tied with Sony starting way back in its original debut on the PlayStation 1. With sequels and spin-offs on each console since, it's surprising there were only 3 instances where Tekken made an appearance on a Nintendo console. Even more interesting, that Tekken landed first and foremost on the Game Boy Advance with Tekken Advance. Then came back to Nintendo almost exactly a decade later with Tekken 3D Prime. Now I don't have much of a seasoned history with Tekken. I've dabbled in Tekken Tag Tournament and played some of Tekken 4 with my family, but I can't say those games defined the genre for me. And then, with the thought of Tekken coming to the 3DS, my own personal console, I thought it may have been the perfect time to dive in. Now I want to say from my previous knowledge of Tekken 3D Prime, I felt that most of the time I heard it was pretty lackluster and boring. I've heard from people on Reddit while looking at reviews over a decade ago, there was nothing really on offer for me, as someone who rarely played Tekken, so I passed on it. Today, however, I wanted to spend some time playing and experiencing Tekken and discovering for myself if it was really just as mundane as I had heard, or if there was something unique to uncover here. Along with other titles, Tekken for the 3DS was first revealed in an E3 press conference of 2011. Not much was needed to be shown for the masses to get the idea. The clip shows Kazuya and Heihachi as they face off. A few punches and a grab is shown. With that, we already know it's Tekken, it's coming. Before launching on the 3DS, Iwata hosted a small section of his series of Iwata Asks to interview the producer of the Tekken series, Horada-san, and the producer of Tekken 3D Prime, Akaida-san. During this discussion, they discussed their hopes for the title. Specifically, they wanted Tekken 3D Prime to live up to the expectation of quality on display in the title. They had high hopes for the battles that you can have anywhere since handhelds go with us almost anywhere. They had concepted it as the most accessible Tekken. Another aspect they directly wanted to include in this title was the entirety of the Tekken Blood Vengeance movie, which thankfully they did. Launching for the 3DS in February of 2012, Tekken 3D Prime burst on the scene, bringing with it heavy punches and possibly the only 3D movie that landed on the 3DS. So let's talk about Tekken. Tekken is, of course, first and foremost, a combo-heavy fighter. To truly appreciate what Tekken does best, you need to devote time into learning its mechanics. You could also spend time in training, trying to nail down some perfect combos, or you could rush into the main game and experience story mode. Wait, where is it? There isn't a story mode? In most games, you expect to have a few game modes that differentiate from each other. Maybe a story mode, or some survival mode, or something off the wall like Tekken Bowling or Ball. Just additional modes that seem insignificant but provide unique ways to play the same game. This is Tekken Prime's largest weak point. Tekken 3DS has 3 modes, if you could really even call them that. Special Survival, Versus Battles, and Quick Battles are your 3 game modes, which honestly do very little to distinguish themselves. In Survival Battle, it has you battling against CPU opponents with 1 health bar that continuously fills up after each match you win. With successfully winning 1 tier, you unlock a longer survival gauntlet. Versus Battle is standard among any fighting game, where you can play locally with somebody nearby or play online and battle across the world. And then Quick Battle. Again, just battling computer players as they get harder in difficulty throughout your 10 matches. Every few wins in a row will grant you a chance to be promoted to gain a new title. The biggest hindrance is that of all of these, they all feel the same. It doesn't feel like the game modes provide enough incentives to earn your time. Whether you play survival or quick battles, both are what can feel like endless waves of battle after battle. And don't get me wrong here, the fighting is almost exactly like Tekken's home console iterations. It feels plain and simple Tekken. Battling itself is solid. The mechanics and controls, at least with the D-pad, are considerable. When the circle pad is used, it feels a little less specific with the inputs. Sometimes inputting down will do downside, which could ruin a combo if you aren't very specific with the way that you move. The A, B, Y, and X button, they all seem easy enough to reach for most combos. When the punches, kicks, and uppercuts connect, you feel that power with the crunch sound that makes it so much more satisfying. Being pinned down against the wall infuriated me. I desired to get better, and when pinning the computer against the wall, I felt unstoppable. I was becoming the best that no one ever was. Oh, sorry, wrong franchise. But the translation from home console to Nintendo's portable didn't limit the depth of the fighting. Aside from the 3 modes being very similar, I found the game lacking almost any incentive to play. It's definitely cool to become experienced enough with a character to learn multiple routes for the combos and to be able to perfect battles. And that's something the game did get me to return for. But survival rewards you with the only collectible in the game, Tekken cards. Tekken 3D Prime has over 700 unique image cards to unlock, each with a character and a pose or a screenshot from the movie or even other games in this series, but that's it. Throughout the game, you don't even unlock alternate style options for your characters. There's no characters to unlock, they are all available from the start. You don't even have the story to experience, even if it's limited. There isn't even some random other mode to pass the time. Your high score and lowest times are your main reason to return outside of the cards. Though, I'd be lying if I didn't mention the pseudo-unlockable color customization. Every character has an option to unlock up to 9 new color schemes for their outfits. All you need to do is rank up in quick battle. After ranking up to Mentor, you can unlock a new color for both costumes 1 and 2, and continuing to do so until you reach Vindicator. Though it's not a short process and must be completed with each character individually, which sounds like a lot of padding to me. Though, I suppose now is as good as time as any to discuss the game's graphics. This is where Tekken 3D shines. Tekken 3D to me looks like a lower res PS2 port. Character models are all detailed and designed well. Flames on Jin's pants are easily visible, with the folds of his pants showing through well, too. The character's clothes don't necessarily float with their movements, but they do stretch accordingly to the steps and punches. The particle effects are minimal, but with the splash of punches and kicks, the lightning and red mists from brutal attacks. Then there are flames and explosions that are present too. The terrain shows destruction from bodies slamming into it, and as well, there are some breakable environments where characters could fall through floors. One of my favorite stages is the hidden retreat. The music is great, and I think the location and the music being so starkly different makes me enjoy it so much. Boasting a huge roster of 41 characters in total, there's definitely variety on display here. Each character has options of 2 costumes. Some characters, like Lily, my personal favorite, she's nimble and doesn't hit hard most of the time, but she has many light combos that string together, providing substantial damage. Her speed from one move to another allows for quick damage buildup. Unlike characters like Paul and Brian, who might be a little slower, but their jabs and kicks when landed, land like semi-trucks. The character roster in its entirety comes from Tekken 6, which is amazing in its own right. With plenty of characters to choose from, there's bound to be somebody who matches your way to play. Now, online play was possible before the shutdown. From reading online, others stated that its gameplay was very laggy and wildly inconsistent. Of course, I couldn't possibly test it, but I did try out local play. It's very smooth. It's much like Street Fighter 4's. As long as you're in close proximity to the other player, it's seamless. I could see some nice experiences being made here, especially if you had a couple friends at the time and you could even host your own tournaments, just battling each other. Outside of everything mentioned before, the other game mode that the developers decided was an absolute must was having the movie. You can watch Blood Vengeance directly from the start up of the game. You can watch it in its entirety in 3D. It's a neat novelty, but personally, other than having something to watch in 3D, I don't feel any desire to really see it through to the end. I wanted to watch it, but I haven't been interested in Tekken, and this Tekken experience wasn't providing enough for me to be invested. Tekken 3D was overall a middling experience. Its core gameplay translated into the 3DS admirably. The touchscreen's use of mapped combos isn't groundbreaking, but it's very useful, and the graphics, relative to early PlayStation 2 days, provided a sleek and stylish portable experience. But the title lacks much incentive to play outside of a couple hours. Few game modes with repetitive gameplay experiences leaves a lot to be desired. Almost no unlockables, and the okay 3D movie. It's a title I enjoyed for a short while, but honestly, I won't be going back. If you were a die-hard Tekken fan, I'd recommend it, just for the experience of seeing your favorite characters battle it out in 3D on the 3DS. But otherwise, I'd say it's not really worth picking up. Thanks for watching, till next time.